What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you are upset with modern day gaming right now, how unoptimized they are, you are not alone. This video that I'm about to play right now, Justin, he breaks it down right to the nitty gritty. Stick around. 3, 2, 1. Let's get it.
Over the years, video game graphics have evolved far beyond what we ever could imagine to be possible. Pores in the skin, motion capture technology, photorealistic shadows and reflections that adjust themselves properly in real time, and that was 2018. Now we have pores in the skin, motion capture technology, photorealistic shadows and reflections that adjust themselves in real time at sub 60 frames per second with the most powerful gaming GPU on the market.
If you're wondering why I'm wearing my Squid Game costume right now, I'm gonna be going live tonight. So tune in, guys. You can join in whatever multiplayer game that I'm playing.
Market, accompanied with ghosting, poppin', input lag, flickering, motion blur without motion blur. What the f happened? I'm a simple gamer, and I like to think that I play a variety of different genres. The Last of Us, Danganronpa, Silent Hill, Red Dead, Hentai Girl Karen, Fortnite. But in recent years, I've found myself using mods more and more just to get my games to run well. Back in 2017, I owned a $600 PC and I played PUBG, Skyrim, Assassin's Creed, and Borderlands on it all the time. But nowadays, it's hard to run any modern title on a PC under $1,500, or at least it's hard to make the games look good. Yes, of course technology and graphics evolve over time, but it's clear that things have gotten a little disproportionate, especially when the beefiest, dump truckiest GPUs struggle to run games and don't even break the 60 FPS mark. I'm talking, of course, about the rapidly spreading virus in gaming right now known as bad optimization. But what killed optimization? Why do developers not care for their games to run good and look good at the same time, and instead exclusively prioritize making them appealing to the eyes? Well,
He's not wrong right there. We've seen it. If you put your FPS counter on right now, you realize you cannot get over 100 frames on a beefy GPU. And when he speaks on the game visually is stunning, yo, half of these games, that's where I'm gonna be disagreeing with him right there. Most of these games right now, they're not visually stunning. I'm running a 4090 right now with a 7800 X3D, and let me tell you, sometimes I feel as if my PlayStation 5 has better graphics. I'm not even joking.
like many topics, it's not so black and white, and there are a lot of reasons, and starting with the first 13th reason why.
What if I told you that some clubs, activities, and classes can actually hurt your chances of getting into your dream?
Upscaling technology. In the past few years, artificial intelligence has evolved at an alarming rate. AI is being used everywhere. We have AI-generated videos like this Coca-Cola ad I got, AI-generated essays, AI-generated songs, AI-generated comments, which is worthy of a whole different video in itself, and of course, AI-generated graphics. Well, not completely AI-generated. Upscaling technology in video games works like this. The game runs at a lower resolution, like 1080p, and then it gets upscaled to a higher resolution, like 1440p. In theory, this will make your game look like it normally would at base resolution, but that's not necessarily true. Even on a quality setting, some problems just become glaring. In Fortnite, there's some serious shadow flickering and fuzziness going on in some areas, and in Red Dead Redemption 2, it may not seem too different at first glance, but look at how the game looks when it starts raining. What the f? AI has to guess what the game will look like at a higher resolution, and as a result, the game will never look like how the developers intended with upscaling on. I really care about vision and artistic direction, and I can't help but feel like DLSS and FSR are quick and easy solutions to improve frame rate, but molest the original concept. DLSS, or Deep Learning Super Sampling, NVIDIA's upscaling technology, has settings you can choose from, such as quality, balance, performance, and ultra performance.
Yeah, I've used most of these settings, and comment down below if you see the difference. For me, I think they're all trash. I just run at a native resolution. If I can get a little bit more sharpness, I do. I do like my games to be looking sharp, but yo, I've been playing around with settings here and there on Call of Duty, on Flight Sim, on not Callisto Protocol, Dead Space. And those are visually stunning games, but with all these added DLSS, FSR3, yo, the game still looks like trash to me.
What this does is lower the base resolution of the game, so instead of upscaling 1080p to 1440p, it'll upscale 720p or 480p to 1440p. The lower the base resolution, the more inaccurate the upscale. And for real, who the hell even plays on performance modes? DLSS is only enabled on RTX cards anyway, and I'm pretty sure all of those cards are capable enough for gamers to not have to submit to the worst case scenario to enjoy a video game. Oh shit. Another AI-generated solution modern NVIDIA GPUs are utilizing is the brand spanking new frame generation method. What this does is it takes 2 frames from your game and will use AI to interpret what a middle frame would look like. So basically, your frame rate will go from 30 to 60. This will inevitably cause input lag, but for laid-back gamers who use wireless controllers, that won't be much of an issue, since wireless controllers obviously have input lag already, so it really depends on what game you're playing. Now, I already know a lot of you guys are probably thinking, just1n, upscaling, frame generation, this is the future of gaming. Now I can play GTA 6 on my RTX 20 Ti. And my response to that is
20 shitty Ti.
short-term solutions cause long-term problems, and it's already happening. Yes, upscaling technology allows gamers to not spend $1 bajillion on a new GPU, but what it also does is encourage developers to not optimize their games since they know, hey, gamers will just turn DLSS on anyway to make the game run good. I just beat the Silent Hill 2 remake. It came out this October and it was nothing short of mind-blowing. It was also PC-blowing because my computer sounded like a Russian bomber jet trying to run the damn thing. Still loved it to death though, and was rooting for it at the Game Awards. Come on, Luke
And
Roberts.
the winner is
Come on, Luke Roberts.
Melinda Jurgen.
If we check the recommended specs for Silent Hill 2, it suggests using DLSS to play the game at a high setting on the recommended graphics card. Silent Hill 2 looks incredible, but it's also Silent Hill 2. The entire game is set in these liminal spaces, so it shouldn't be too difficult to run even if it looks realistic. Well, if we install the Sunny Hills mod, which turns the town of Silent
Yo, that makes no sense. I personally feels like there's a lot of cutting corners happening in the studios nowadays because they know they can get away with a lot of things. That's just how I feel. And Call of Duty this year has just pointed that out, yo. It's just a bunch of lazy devs. No apologies to most of y'all devs out there. I pay money for this. And when I play these games, on optimized games, I just think some of y'all are just lazy because you know you can get away with it.
Hill into a normal small town on a beautiful day, we can see the actual draw distance for the game. Enemies pop in pretty close to James, but the areas that are loaded in are actually surprisingly far away. What's strange about this is that in the unmodded game, the fog is thick and so close to James, you never even see the buildings that are actually loaded in. Rendering most of the map like this at once is not only pointless, because it takes a significant chunk of performance straight out of your game for no reason at all, but it's also ironic because the fog existed in the first few Silent Hill games for this exact reason. The PlayStation 1 didn't have the power to load distant areas, and to hide the hardware shortcomings, Team Silent slapped a bunch of fog onto the game, which fortunately gave it a more ominous tone, but conveniently improved performance as well. The fog in the Silent Hill 2 remake is still present to provide a bleak tone for the game's visuals, but the developers aren't utilizing it to its full potential. Some games make distant buildings look horrendous to save performance instead of just outright making them disappear, and the Silent Hill 2 remake doesn't even do that. Fine details still appear on the distant objects, but we never would have even seen it in the unmodded version because of the fog. Sure, you could say DLSS and frame generation are excellent solutions for gamers to not spend a fortune on a new card to run these games, but as we can see from the recommended specs, they're also solutions for developers to not make basic fixes for their games because they're thinking, well, why would we make our game run good when DLSS can do it for us? The RTX 4090 can't even play Silent Hill 2 at 4K, which is the industry's current mainstream resolution, at 60 frames per second. That is not only crazy, but it's unacceptable when it's clear that there are obvious fixes that will make the game in question run better without using upscaling. But despite all the graphical issues, it still should have won something at the Game Awards, goddammit.
And Silent Hill 2. And the Game Award for audio design goes to
Silent Hill 2, right? Come on.
Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2.
The PlayStation 5
No. I think Silent Hill 2 is a great game, but I don't think it's visually stunning or did anything special. That's just my personal opinion. I know a lot of cult following followed that game, but I don't think it was looking virtually stunning. Silent Hill 2 to me looked like a remastered game. Even Last of Us remastered, I think looked better than Silent Hill.
5 Pro, which is the best console on the market for gaming, and over $1,000 in Canada if you want the disc attachment, uses its own AI upscaling technology known as PSSR, or PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. I remember when the PlayStation 5 was revealed back in 2020, they were preaching that this is a huge step for gaming because developers don't have as many graphical limitations anymore to how they want their game to look. Because of the convenience of power, developers are now making more limitations because of these short-term solutions like upscaling and frame generation to optimize their game for them. PSSR is not good for the future of console gaming. Think about it. Consoles don't allow for
most upscaling, they're dog shit. Complete trash.
advanced graphical customization. On PC, you can select the texture quality, draw distance, shader quality, reflections, and on console, you can choose between performance or quality. In-depth graphics customization will never be a thing on consoles because they're made with the intention to be convenient. So now that we have PSSR, what's stopping these companies from making an unoptimized video game, using PSSR to make it run a stable 30 FPS, and then calling that the quality setting? This, right now, when some games can't even play 60 FPS at 4K on the fattest GPU on the market, is not good, and will only give future developers an incentive to use shortcuts while making the game's visuals. Ray tracing. 2 words that's been crammed into every gaming tech presentation ever since 2018. So here's a quick explanation of what ray tracing actually is. Ray tracing is a graphics technique that simulates how light behaves in the real world to create photorealistic frames. Prior to ray tracing's explosive entrance into the industry in 2018, developers would have to make their own lighting techniques in the game to simulate as accurately as possible how the light and reflections would behave. The thing about ray tracing is that in most modern games, you won't even notice a difference. Most of the awe you'll get from a game that's ray traced is the placebo effect whispering in your ear that the game looks way better. This is Cyberpunk with ray tracing on max, and this is Cyberpunk with ray tracing off. As you can see, there is a graphical upgrade with ray tracing, but more importantly, there's a huge dent in performance. Ray tracing has actually existed for a very long time though. The initial idea for it was thought up in 1968, and Pixar started using it in their animated films, beginning its reign in A Bug's Life from 1999. Granted, they
I did not know that.
only used it for like 2 shots, but regardless, they did use ray tracing. That's why 3D animated movies from the early 2000s still look better than modern day stylized games. Now that we have the technology to implement ray tracing in video games though, it's a pro and a con. In some games that don't have detailed casting effects like Minecraft, ray tracing is an enormous upgrade. But in games like Cyberpunk, it looks great in some scenes, but most of the time you probably won't even notice it. It's true that ray tracing is an option. You don't have to enable it, but the support of this new expensive technology means the downfall of an old but gold method of creating reflection. I'm going to use Half-Life 2 for this example. In Half-Life 2, Valve used planar reflections to create convincing looking water. While this can be expensive to performance if used on a large face of water like an ocean for example, it's great for something small like a puddle. Now you guys may be saying, Justin, don't be a dingus, you dingus! Technology needs to evolve over time. Otherwise we'll be stuck in the same place forever. And I 100% agree.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Technology needs to evolve, but man, I feel like we're going backwards. I feel like we're really going backwards. When AI can make a video game, trust me, it's over. Rein in the laziness, yo. I feel well. I mean, I might go into gaming because by then I can just 1, 2, 1 and zeros and make a profitable game. But when AI can do all of these things on its own, we're doomed because the technology is here. But the more we get technologically advanced, we're just getting crappy video game, shitty products.
with you. You're not wrong. I just think that a lot of modern developers are putting all of their chips into ray tracing, even though most modern GPUs still struggle to run games with ray tracing on. In Star Wars Outlaws, for example, there's no option to turn ray tracing off. You can only lower and enhance the quality. All I'm saying is that while I would like to get to the point where every game automatically has ray tracing on, I just feel like most gamers aren't there yet, since a lot of people still use GTX 1080s, RTX 2080s, and whatever the AMD alternatives are, I don't really know. So why limit your audience? There should absolutely be ray tracing options, but I think that developers should still put a lot of effort into optimizing their games for when ray tracing is off, so it still looks good and not muggy everywhere. Most people don't have the money to sink into a brand spanking new 4090 that can actually utilize ray tracing well, so the rest of the gamers, including console gamers, are forced to be stuck with these subpar water effects and reflections because the developers think
Call of Duty is the worst unoptimized game in the history. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 to be exact. The worst game of the century. But I might be playing it tonight still.
that they can just glaze over it as fast as possible since there's an easy, quick solution, and that's to let ray tracing do the work for them. I love ray tracing, I love shadow quality, a lot of reflective surfaces, but let's be real, this is too much for what we can handle right now. We can barely even run 4K open world games on the newest cards, so why are we building video games for ray tracing? That is insanity. And again, if ray tracing is an option, that's great. All I'm saying is the game should still look good for the people that don't want to have it enabled. Developers need to optimize their graphics to where the gamers are at, and not 100% to where the newest hardware is. Of course, optimize it so the games look as good as possible on that hardware, but don't make it impossible for everybody else, because that's just a lose-lose for everybody involved. Now, these new games, Stalker 2, Remnant 2, Silent Hill 2, The Witcher 4, all have something in common, and it's that they're all made in the Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine 5, to be specific. When Unreal Engine 5 was announced, people thought it would be a huge leap for developers since it would handle a lot of the fine graphical details, taking the work off of the programmers. The flaw with UE5 is that the graphics are incredible, but they're also expensive and unoptimized. Most of these Unreal Engine 5 games suffer the same issues, and that's not only bad performance, but very blatant ghosting. Ghosting is when a frame links.
He's not wrong there, and I think a lot of mainstream YouTubers that love the game, they should speak on this issue so we can get it to the masses and force Unreal Engine to optimize their system, because believe it or not, Unreal Engine 5 promotes game developers to implement certain things, because I've seen some of the showcase, to implement certain things. It's easier. And Unreal Engine 5 is visually stunning. Any game that runs on Unreal Engine 5 is stunning, but it's heavy. It's chunky like your grandma. They just need to optimize the game. And a game that's running on Unreal Engine 5, believe it or not, that's the smoothest game of the year, is Marvel Rivals. I don't know how they did it. Maybe it's like a combination between Toyota and BMW with the Supra, but yo, let me tell you, them guys over there at Marvel Rivals, they did something with that game, and it's running so smooth. You couldn't even believe that it's on Unreal Engine 5.
Lingers for a bit, even after it moves on. There's also some pretty clear flickering problems and the hardcore push for temporal anti-aliasing. Anti-aliasing is a graphics technology that's been around for a while, to be fair, which removes the jagged edges on objects. With it off, the game is completely raw. Each pixel is exactly where it needs to be, at the cost of everything looking sharp. What anti-aliasing does is it slightly blurs the image by softening the edges on objects and makes it appear less like a video game and more like a picture. TAA is used pretty much everywhere now in modern gaming, and if you stand still, it looks pretty good, but if you move, it looks blurry and horrendous. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a great example for a game that's made with the idea that TAA will be enabled. The game without it looks weird, and with it on, looks blurry. It's clear that the developers didn't take the time to optimize the game without it, and instead decided to really push for TAA. But the problem is that TAA in Red Dead Redemption 2 isn't completely optimized either, and just ruins the image when the game is moving, which is, you know, most of the game. Stalker 2, an Unreal Engine 5 game, is probably the perfect example of a game that relies on TAA to look good, and it's clear that the game was made with TAA in mind, because the trees are dithered without it on. So basically, if you want to play a modern video game, game, you either get sharp, unrealistic, and untouched graphics, or turn anti-aliasing on and get a main dish of blurry game with a side of ghosting. Anti-aliasing was not always this much of an issue though. Let's look at Skyrim. With anti-aliasing off, the game looks sharp, sure, but it still looks great, while Red Dead Redemption 2 with anti-aliasing off looks sharp and weird, and like the developers never even wanted it to be an option. It's another strange time for gaming. In 2008, we had the notorious piss filter trend, where every game had a brown and yellow color scheme. In 2018, every game had to have a battle royale mode, and in 2024, every game is made in Unreal Engine 5, and nothing runs as well as it should. To prevent this from happening, developers need to slow down and take the time to remove the unnecessary clutter that claps performance. They need to think, well, how can we make this reflection look good without ray tracing? And they need to consider the broad audience of gamers instead of what the loaded game journalists who can actually run the game at max settings will say about it.
What the hell?
So ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. I need not to say no more. This dude Justin, he laid all out. He laid out everything that we've been thinking, what we've been trying to say. I'm gonna link the video in the description, yo, so this video can reach the developers, because we need a change. We cannot go into 2025 with this bullshit. I don't know what else they're gonna be selling us, but we need a change. We cannot be paying our money for these unoptimized game, and when Nvidia releasing new GPUs, AMD releasing new GPUs and CPUs, but they make 0 sense. We need a change in the gaming space. And yeah, comment below what y'all think. Go check out his videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. 3, 2, 1, deuces.